Right. Let's first define what wealth is. Let me give you an equation because you guys are good with equations, right? Your wealth is equal to your personal capital or human capital plus your financial capital. Look at your parents. Your parents might have a lot of investments, right? They have houses, apartments, lands, cash, bonds, stocks, fixed deposits. They have a lot of financial capital. Whereas, I believe you have an important capital as well. That is your human capital. What is human capital? I would define the personal capital or the human capital as the amount of paychecks that you can collect throughout your career. Just think about it. Just think about your current salary. Don't increase it for the moment. Just assume that you're going to collect the same amount for 40 years, or 30 years, or 20 years. That's a lot of money, right? That is the potential that you have. In fact, that is the number that banks check when you are applying for a loan, don't they? Your ability to pay back your human capital. So, let's draw this on a graph to see where we land. Monetary value versus age. Human capital usually it is at its peak when you start earning, right? So, assuming that you have started earning in your early 20s, you have the highest number of paychecks to collect at the age of 20s. At the age of 55, 60, it's at a minimum. In fact, once you retire, you don't have any paychecks to collect, right? But it's the other way around for financial capital. You might not have a lot of FDs, might not have a lot of stocks, cryptos, and all the other different assets at this point in time. But over time, you've seen people growing their financial capital, growing their investments. Look at your parents. Look at the senior colleagues that you're working with. They have done that before, right? How does it happen? The secret is in savings. So human capital gives you paychecks. Those paychecks, if you are not consuming the entire paycheck, what does that mean? There will be a remainder, a savings. Those will feed into investments. Those investments grow, compound over time. Small seeds, big trees, and then become the financial capital. This is what they've done as building careers over the years. Very simple. Right. Let's look at a different angle. What's the relationship between income and expense? About 15 years ago, I was a fresh graduate, and then it was one of the first parties that I went to at our office. So one of the senior guys, one of the senior engineers who've been there for a very long time, was drunk, and then he was speaking of his heart. Machan, mama එනකොට මං ආවේ 25000 salary එකට. ඇවිල්ලා මාස දෙකයි යන්න පටන් ගත්තේ. I didn't have enough money. මදි බොසාට කතා කරලා අවුරුද්ද දෙකක් හිටියම 50000 වුණා salary එක. I was over the moon. මාර වැඩේ කියන්නේ. Expenses උත් 50000 වුණා කියන්නේ. In another 2 years time, I was promoted few times, and then I got 100,000. Wow, 100,000 was a big number at that time. Huh? So he was saying, 100,000 නම් කවදාවත් වීදම් කරන්න බෑ. බැන්දා කියන්නකෝ ළමෙක් හම්බුණා කියන්නකෝ මාර වැඩේනේ. What happened? I was spending 110,000. Then I realized maybe 200,000 is that magic number. In another few years, I actually promoted a few times and then I was earning 200,000. My God. Believe me, I don't have any savings. Even today, I'm spending 200,000 and I can't believe that I got a 25,000 salary few years back. The funny thing is, income, expenses, they're like very close friends. In fact, expense closely track income. It doesn't go always below the income. Sometimes it goes over the income, especially in your early career days when you want to invest for a place to live, for a marriage, for a baby, for a car. You might have to go into debt sometimes to acquire them, right? It's not easy. It's a reality. I mean, if you believe that the people in developed countries, the professionals in developed countries don't go through this cycle, that's a big lie. They go through even worse cycles. Professionals in highly developed cities such as New York, they will never ever afford a home. They will live in a rented place in their entire life because it's not affordable at all. So consider yourself lucky to a certain extent. Now, let's try to model a career in IT using finances. So I'm going to do a very high level scenario. It's like this. So you're joining a company at 24 years, starting salary of about 200,000 with about 7% annual raise, and then you are putting aside a portion of your income on 12% investment return, and returns are compounded. So all numbers are gross, and I haven't included or used the inflation in my equations. Starting from 24 going up to 55, this is how your monthly salaries for each of the years will vary from, and at the same time the yearly gross income moves like from 2.8 to about 19.5 million. Very rough calculation, a very simple model, right? Next, what we are going to do is to look at the impact of savings rate. What is savings rate? Your income minus your expenses is savings, right? Savings divided by your income is savings rate. Let's say you earn 100, you save 20, your savings rate is 20%, right? At different savings rate, what are the nominal values that you will see at the age of 55? If you start at 24, going till 55, at the 10% savings rate, that will bring you to about 140 million. 20%, 275, 30%, 418, 554, 692. So what is $1 million in today's Sri Lanka rupee terms? What's $1 million? 299 million. 299 million. So in constant currency, today's exchange rate, so if you save at about 50%, you can earn $2 million in your nest egg, in your investment account at 55, which is a substantial amount, right? But unfortunately, 50% saving 50% of your income It's not a trivial task. What should you do? වැඩක් නැහැ මේක කරන්න බෑනේ. අතහැරලා දාන්න. නැත්තම් because compounding happens later, you can do it later. Can you do it? No. Maybe you can start at 10% today, 20% today, and later increase your savings rate, which is possible, right? Because you are going through the cycle of building a house, renting a home, buying a car. All of these expenses will actually deduct a lot of your income into expenses. So it's not easy. Maybe you can start at 10% and then later grow into 50%. Can you do that? But the problem is, your neighbors or your colleagues, they go for the next shiny thing. When you have more money, you go for a bigger car. When you have more money, you go for an expensive neighborhood to live. When you have more money, you find luxury things to spend money on. This is called lifestyle creep. Expansion of your lifestyle to meet the amount of money that you are earning. So this is the problem. How to get out of this? While the income is progressing, you bend the curve of expenses. This is the only way, and this is the only way that people who've actually done that have done that. You might actually start with a 10% because it's really hard when you're earning 200,000. But when you're earning 400,000, you can't complain the same way. Joneses are everywhere. Colleague Joneses, co-worker Joneses, neighborhood Joneses, they are there. And they look wealthy and they look very happy. But the reality is they are broke. They might look tempting. Their lifestyles look very happy, luxurious. But the reality is they are broke. They are living paycheck to paycheck. Because of that, there's no point in keeping up with the neighbor Joneses or the colleague Joneses. The idea is to increase your savings rate over time so that as you progress in life, you can contribute more to your savings in terms of building your financial capital.